Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another Pokemon tier list, and today we are doing the Pokemon regions. And when I say regions, I mean not the generation, I mean the land that is occupied. So you know, Kanto, Johto, Sinnoh, Hoenn, Unova, um, Kalos, Alola, Galar, Hisui, and Paldea. And the way I'm going to be grading it is pretty much how memorable things are for me and how well developed the region was in the story. If it was poor regional development, it's going to go lower. If it had some spots that were a little annoying to get through, it's going to go lower. Or if they were just memorable and enjoyable, it's going to be higher up on the list for me. Personal experiences, guys. So to start things out, I'm going with what I think to be the worst region in Pokemon, and that is the Kalos region. The Kalos region had a bunch of flaws. The first thing is when you start copying, one thing that you're going to lose points is lack of originality. Once you start copying other regions, there's a lot of aspects in the Kalos region that copy the Kanto region. So, it just loses, between the Snorlax being there. The first forest, I believe, is like a copy of the Viridian Forest. The legendary birds and Mewtwo, they just decide, they're like, hey, you know what? We're going to take what worked in the past and redo it in 3D, but make it a different region. And I don't like that. I don't like that. And there's a lot of areas in the region that were just unfinished. You know, the power plant, I feel like the center, I don't even remember the center city's name. It just was a mess. It just wasn't good, a lot of things weren't memorable about it. It was pretty rough region in terms of enjoyability, in my opinion. I mean, people were, and I think that as time's gone on, the 3D aspect of Pokemon, it being the first 3D game, has kind of faded, and time has kind of shown its true colors to the Kalos region and how poor it really was. Now, this one is gonna hit. Some people are gonna hate me. Some people are gonna side with me. This one's gonna be really polarizing, but I think the second worst region in the Pokemon is the Hoenn region. I'm not saying the games are the worst, second worst. I'm just saying they are. The region itself could have done. I understand that they're basing off real locations and there's a lot of water, but we'll talk about a region here shortly that does it a little better. But the water routes, man, oh my god. Like, I know it's everyone's complaint, but nobody wants to be surfing and hit the same Pokemon. Surf routes are annoying because you encounter Pokemon constantly. If you find yourself without repels, you're constantly encountering Pokemon. There are memorable locations. Don't get me wrong. Like, Sky Pillar. I think it's Sky Pillar. Sutopolis. Mauville, New Mauville, Sea Mauville, or I guess it's the abandoned ship back in Gen 3. But the memorable locations, just not, there's no need. They could have broke up somehow the redundancy of the water routes instead of just, let's make this a new route because, they had to make code it. If you're going to make it a new route, make it visibly different somehow. It kind of just seemed like, we're traveling and nothing changes, but for whatever reason, it's a new route. Not my favorite. Do not like Hoenn, mainly because of the water routes. It really frustrates me that they maybe could have done something more in Generation 6 and it kind of stayed more or less the same. Now, moving on to the 8th place spot, we have the Galar region. Which one is it? It's this one. The Galar region, really enjoy the Galar games. I believe that they did a good job with story and they did a lot, but the region itself, they tried implementing that open world, or started implementing the open world aspect. And I think a big problem with the open world aspect in Pokemon right now, it's still early on, we only have really 2 games with that open world aspect and one that kind of had it, which is Galar. Is it when they do that, they leave a lot to be desired out, like in those areas. Like, there's nothing not really anything memorable in the open wild area. Like, the big selling feature was like, we have this open wild area, but I don't remembering something from that area is going to be lost on me. the Galar region there is, it's cool that they have it, but nothing memorable about it in terms like there's no like area that you can like think of right offhand. At least I can't. In that area now, and then you move to the actual routes and stuff. They're beautiful. Like they did a good job. The colors are there. They did a good job transitioning. Different areas look different. I like it a lot. But the problem is, it's like there's nowhere to explore. It's like, oh, get on the route and go here, and it's a straight line. I mean, they make it do a little zigzag, but it's not like you can't branch off into a whole bunch of different paths like you could in older games. But it's just like it pretty much is just straight line. Maybe veer off one little aspect to get an item, but it's nothing crazy. There's no like areas that you have to come back to like break up later to find something cool and mysterious in there. So I'm gonna give it the 8th place spot. Now we move on to the next, I guess the second open world game, but the one that like allowed you to go anywhere. It's not really open world because you still have to unlock things to access certain spots, but we move to the Paldea region, which is this big one with the smoky boy. Now, besides Area 0, I have a big problem remembering any location in this game. It's one of my complaints with like when I reviewed it. One of my complaints with the game is that it's just not memorable, and I think part of the reason, and this goes with all the open world, is that they give you the map to tell you where to go next. And whereas I see that is very helpful, I believe that without the like way markers, it means you have to explore areas more to figure out where to go next. And when you're exploring areas more, you get more familiar with a place. So I believe that is one key feature that these new games, from what I think they've done it from Alola onward, have pulled away from the charm of the Pokemon region itself. Area 0, really cool. Don't get me wrong. And being open world is really cool. And I don't want to get into like actual game things that I'm frustrated with, but I do like the open world aspect, and they try to make things look grand. But right now, as it's sitting, the game just kind of looks unfinished too. Same thing with the like the Kalos region, but it's better than the Kalos region by far. And it's not the best attempt, but for the first mainline series, it's the best attempt of a region being open world. So I do like that a lot. Now we move on to 7th place, and the 7th place is the colorful Alola region. Now the Alola region they did a lot right. I mean, the newer games, I'm going to struggle remembering a lot of things. I haven't played them as much. Maybe, 5-10 years in the future, I'll remember them a little more because I've played them a couple more times. But from what I can remember of the Alola region, in terms of places, is really in 6 up. It was a pretty dogfight for who goes where. It's very colorful, and I believe and every place you visit has a lot of like detail to it. They made you. This was the first game that really hardcore had side missions for you to complete, and they did a better job on what Hoenn did not deliver. They're like, hey, we have all this water. Let's not make our player have to go through all this water, and let's just ship them over to the next island. So they're like, oh, it's based on Hawaii. There's 4 islands. Let's just make the islands transversible and not have them surf from island to island. Now, should there have been maybe a little more watery areas that you can go out a little further? Maybe, and then you can add some hidden coves. Fine, make them like optional side. But they did a lot, but they fixed a lot about Hoenn. The only downside really to the Alola region is I just don't, besides the man-made island, I can't even think of its name, and then I can't even remember the island's names, but I remember there being vibrant colors, and again, this is the first game that had the markers, so I don't remember things as much because it's just like, oh, go here, instead of explore to figure out where you need to go. But I do like the Alola region a lot. Now we move on to Generation 2, the Johto region, which I believe is this picture right here. This has Mount Silver on the side. Yeah, this is the Johto region. I think this is Johto region, because this is Kanto, Sinnoh, Unova, Hisui. Okay, yeah, this is Johto region. It has to be Johto region. Think about the Johto region. One thing I like about the Johto region is that it has, you can branch off different paths. And it still kind of makes sense in the order you battle them. A little different, a little weird. They obviously have a set level that you can go to. And I guess that's what Galar had the same, or not Galar, Paldea had the same thing, but I think the Johto region is just a little more memorable with locations because this was prior to having any kind of way marker, and they're like, oh, go there, and then, but if you didn't read text, you had to explore, and there's a lot of areas to branch off to find, between, like, you go to Goldenrod's a key place that I just remember. Ekritique is huge because it's like the center before you split. I can remember cities named Cianwood, I believe, is the city that is south and after you go surfing. You remember cities. Mount Silver is huge, pivotal aspect at the end of the game. Fight red on top of Mount Silver. Now that's part of the gameplay, not necessarily the region itself. Mount Silver is a huge piece. It's like, oh, you can't. It's way too dangerous to go up on this area. So you have to become the most powerful trainer in the region before you can even walk up here. So Johto, very memorable. And side bonus, the games itself, it's still the Kanto region, but you get Kanto with Johto. Every time the Johto's appeared, you get Kanto with it. So that's just a little side bonus, but that's not part of the Johto region. Now we move on to number 4, just missing the podium, the Hisui region. Now, when I say this game did open world right, take it with a grain of salt, because where it is kind of open and you can just explore, perfect. I think they did a great job. The art style was amazing. I love the Hisui region's areas. Different, you got your beachy area, you got your forest area, there's a sandy area, swampy area, icy area. I think the land of Hisui, or the Hisui region, the land of Hisui, I don't know how to say it, but was a, 10 out of 10 game. It made, it was just amazing. The only thing I wish is that, and I could be wrong on doing this, that you could transfer, you didn't have to go back to your main hub city to travel to a new area. I wish they would have just tried to make it open as possible and not done like the load, fast travel here, come back, fast travel there. They should have made it so you could just access wherever, or just open world like the Paldea region. I don't know if they were still trying to figure that out, but if they would have done that, and I get it would have been hard to kind of piece the places together, but it would have been amazing, and I think that would have probably put it up higher to the top. Now, in third place, we have the place that started it all, the Kanto region. The reason why I picked Kanto in third, you might be thinking, wow, it's not that memorable. It's the first game. How can it be memorable? Well, that's because it's the first games I ever got were Fire Red, Leaf Green. I know this region like the back of my hand, let me tell you. And in the introduction of the Sevi Islands, which I guess if you want to count it as not Kanto, it's not Kanto, but it's still good. Being able to branch off once you get past, once you get past Brock, you can battle the gym leaders. I guess once you get past Misty, you can battle the gym leaders in any order you want to. Up until Blaine, because then you need Surf. You could go, if you wanted to skip Surge, Erica, Serena, you can fight Koga, and then you got 4 gym leaders. You got 4 options that you can do, and then you can go. You got Viridian, you have Vermilion, Cerulean. I can name, like I said, every pewter, every city like the back of my hand. Safari Zone was a great area to have. Basic, but they did basic in a good way. So Kanto gets the solid place at third. Not enough to push it to the top 2 spots, but good enough for me, tell you what. Now, we move to number 2. This is tough because I think both these regions are fantastic. But one is going to have to take the cake over the other. So in the second place, I'm going with the region based on New York, the Unova region. Now, the Unova region, being as crazy as it is, every area you walk into, especially for it being a 2-day game, had so much detail implemented with it, and they like just like between, and this is gameplay, I guess, kind of gameplay aspect, but like you walk in and like the weather changes, it'll like what it looks like it's falling from the top of your screen. Um, they, little things like a tree being fallen down, or like, you know, the bustling city, a bunch of people moving back and forth, like a whole bunch of sprites, even though they're not really interactable. But they made the region feel alive in this way. So they added so much that anywhere you go, the game was like a bustling area, or like it was a live environment, and it wasn't so so like in the new games. I feel like there's not any like life to it. Like all the NPCs feel dead, whereas this had real color, real I don't know how to explain it, like just a real life feel to it, I guess. Even though it was it's a cartoon 2D game, it made it feel like things were constantly happening, and that's what I love about the Unova region. Now, number one in my favorite generation is the Sinnoh region. I mean, the Sinnoh region, it makes you so Mount Silver, I feel like a lot of people, might be a hot take because a lot of people hate Mount Silver, maybe, because you have to go back to it so many times. Did I say Mount Silver? Mount Silver is in Gold and Silver. Mount Coronet, my bad, guys. You have to go back to it so many times, but each area, like it's so big that it has enough, like you can constantly explore Mount Coronet and be fine. You have Iron Island is a great, a different place to explore. You have the distortion dimension that Giratina lives. That's huge. Like that, implementing a different dimension is such a huge thing that I feel for its time, Pokemon didn't like. It was just crazy to think about. I remember seeing trailers for like Pokemon Platinum come out when I was a kid, and like you're jumping off walls, and I was like, I need to play this game. This looks so much fun. I want to play this game, and I had a blast playing it. The region, Canalave. I always remember Canalave, the drawbridge. Everything about the region, and then like the region's gym leaders were so, even Diamond Pearl were different, but Platinum fixed it so well that the gym leaders were like all kind of fierce looking and really felt like they were in a position of power. So I think, in my opinion, the Sinnoh region is one of the best regions, period, or is the best region, period, just by land play. Gameplay, it might be another story, but Sinnoh region is my favorite, and that is my tier list. So if you guys agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. What is your favorite? Where does your favorite region, solely based on the areas and not necessarily based on the gameplay and how things pan out? But this is my tier list, and to summarize, we have Kalos at 10th, we have Hoenn at 9th, we have Galar at 8, Paldea at 7, we have Alola at 6, we have Johto at 5, Hisui at 4, Kanto at 3, Unova at 2, and Sinnoh at 1. That's what I'll have for today, guys, and until next time, peace.